Hi there, welcome to our Urbandale City Council meeting. So although our city offices are closed right now due to the pandemic, we're hosting this meeting because we believe as council members that it's important to communicate with the citizens of Urbandale about our plans and what we intend to do with the funding the government receives to benefit the town. So the items that we're presenting are areas that we chose to highlight. We believe that these areas align with our strategic goals and interests and benefits the community and the citizens. So we're consistently working hard to meet the needs of Urbandale residents and our community, even during times when you can't communicate with us on a daily basis. And so, throughout this meeting, we've asked citizens of Urbandale to email us with any questions that they would like for us to address today. So as we're moving through this presentation, we're going to address these questions whenever it's relevant to the topic that we're discussing. Okay, so moving on to, so I am Council Member Christine Santinello, and here with me are my colleagues, Council Member Chloe Honbo and Council Member Dennis Monchot.
Okay, so first up, I will be talking about our mission statement. The mission of Urbandale is to provide exceptional quality municipal services and to, of course, act as a financially responsible government, which is, which helps our community needs. And we always try to involve our residents to help make it a better community. First, we have identified a number of strategic goals. The first one, of course, is that we are a financially responsible city providing exceptional and quality municipal services. The second one is to invest in Urbandale's future. So, for example, updating and replacing the city's infrastructure. Next, we want to have a great place for families and, of course, have a very good community. Then the next goal that we have identified is to have a thriving interchanges and corridors development. And lastly, to have great neighborhoods. And it doesn't matter if they're old or new, we want each one of them to be great to our community and a great place to live. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Dennis. So if I can just interject just a little bit, as we're talking about our strategic goals, obviously our citizens are going to have a lot of questions here. And one of them is from a longtime resident of Urbandale. And this person has a family. They have seen the city go through many changes, some more than other cities. So what are some specific changes that this person could expect to see from Urbandale?
And I can actually take this question, Christine. So we in Urbandale have a lot of big things planned from now until 2035, should the economy and, of course, our plans go accordingly. And some of these include creating more funding for leisure facilities, updating facilities at some of our older parks, and addressing community safety needs, such as adding more stop signs and more safe crosswalks. Additionally, we plan to create many more housing options, such as more multi-generational and single-family homes to address the changing market as our city continues to grow. And as we continue to address these plans, we will do our best to communicate with and inform you and everyone else in the community.
Great, thanks so much, Chloe. And I think these are the kind of changes that we do want to see. I mean, there are some changes that we can't control, and all we're really doing is trying our best to grow as our city is growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so another question is from a small manufacturing business owner that is also operating here in Urbandale. And they're looking to hire new workers, but difficult to find potential new hires and then also be able to train them. So they're asking if there's any programs or resources available for this type of business owner.
Actually, yes, we do offer a lot of programs such as the Iowa Jobs Training Program and the Iowa Student Internship Program for advanced manufacturing businesses. So the Iowa Student Internship Program, for instance, provides grants to small and medium-sized companies to help support internship programs with the goal of transitioning these interns to full-time employees in Iowa after they graduate.
Wow, that sounds really great because that's also helping our citizens too, right? Not just the business owners, but also, bringing our citizens up to that next level. The last question that I'm getting here in our strategic goals is if there's affordable housing available in Urbandale.
Yes, actually, this is something that you can see on our next slide here is that Urbandale approved rezoning for a affordable housing project in 2019, which is the first time since 1996 that that has happened. So there will be housing available, and yeah, now I hand it off to Chloe to continue with our accomplishments.
Great, thank you so much, Dennis. So in this section, we highlighted what we think are our key accomplishments from both fiscal year 2019 and fiscal year 2020 that better serve the community and our citizens while also reaching our strategic goals. And so continuing on with this slide, in addition to approving the rezoning for the affordable housing project, we also opened 12 commercial development projects in the urban loop. And we also increased our paved trails to over 50 miles with the completion of our Waterford Trail project. And now moving on to our accomplishments that we completed in fiscal year 2020, in relation to reaching our strategic goal of investing in our future, we opened fire station number 43, and we completed the reconstruction of the Meredith Drive sidewalks and trails. In regards to the strategic goal of creating Urbandale as a premier community and a great place for families, we began process to open the outdoor ice skating rink at Lions Park and began construction on the Walker Johnston Park pickleball courts.
Thanks, Chloe. And we also obviously have some questions here for our accomplishments. The main one is, it seems like this is from a resident that's been following our projects pretty closely, but they know that we already have 2 fire stations in Urbandale. So they're asking if, a third one was really necessary.
And that's a really great question, and I completely understand where this citizen is coming from. So here at Urbandale, we value and prioritize the safety of our residents who may have any type of emergency. And this is supported by our average 911 response time here in Urbandale, which is at about 5 minutes and 51 seconds compared to the national average of around 10 minutes. And so we built fire station number 43 to provide EMS services to not only the residents here in Urbandale, but also our growing western portions here in the city and in our neighboring city of Clive to continue to provide everything for all of our citizens here at Urbandale.
That makes sense.
So now I'm going to hand it over to Christine to go over Urbandale's financials. Christine?
Okay, so first in this slide, we're discussing our revenues that occurred in FY 2019. And we thought it would be a good idea to make sure that we're doing a year-over-year comparison of how we did in 2018. So at the bottom of this little chart, you'll see the total amount of revenue that was earned in 2019 was 65 million. And then in 2018, we earned about 57.5 million. So you're seeing about a $6.5 million increase year over year, and that's about 13.9%. The main areas of these revenue sources are, first of all, taxes, where we earned about 42.2 million in 2019, And then in 2018, we earned about 38.4 million. So that's about a 9.78% change, which is our biggest revenue source. Secondly, we also have our capital grants and contributions. That was in 2019, we had about 6.1 million, and in 2018, we had about 4.1 million, giving us about an increase of $2 million there. And in percentage, it's about 47.73% change. Lastly, even though in dollar amounts, the change doesn't seem that significant in investment earnings, it goes from about 654,000 to 1.5 million. And that's about a 124% increase in investment earnings. So for your taxes, we're seeing this increase. A lot of it is from an increase in home valuation for property taxes. And then in our capital grants, we're seeing grants coming in for our Fire Station 43. Okay, and so moving on to the next slide, we're discussing our expenses as well. Okay, so it's really important for us to track our expenses. So again, we're doing another year-over-year comparison. And so when you look at the totals, you're seeing that we have an increase as well in expenses from 51.6 million to, and that was an increase. And then in 2018, we had about 50.2 million. So that was a 2.69% increase. And so in total, the increase is a little bit less than how much we earned in revenues. The main sources of these increases for expenses is in our public safety. In 2019, we spent about 15.9 million, and in 2018 we had only spent 14.4 million. This has to do with fire station number 43. Originally, we were staggering how many firefighters we were going to hire, but we were able to hire 9 firefighters, and so that had a little bit of an increase with these expenses. And the other large expense that we have here is an interest on long-term debt, which makes sense with all of our projects that we have going on. So in 2018, we had about 1.7 to 1.8 million in spending, and then increased to 2.1 million in 2019, of about 19% increase.
Great. Thank you so much, Christine. So I actually have a couple of questions regarding our financials. The first question comes from a resident who's asking about all of the capital projects that we have going on, such as work on the streets and intersections and all of our trails. What will happen to all of these should the pandemic continue to persist?
Yeah, and this is a really important question, and I'm sure this is on the minds of a lot of the residents and the community of Urbandale. You know, we're taking all this time and money to make sure that these improvements are coming in. Well, we in Urbandale take this very, very seriously, and we do have the funding for this. So about 41% of our government funds goes to our capital project funds, and that's all it can be able to be spent on. And that's about $47 million. So we don't have anything to worry about in terms of continuing any of these projects that were set forth in the beginning of this year.
That's really great to hear. And actually, our second question is also related to the pandemic. And this person asks, will the city have any risk of bankruptcy due to COVID-19?
Right. And, you know, I'm sure that everyone is really concerned about this, us included. We take it very, very seriously. But, you know, Urbandale, over the years, we've taken the time to make sure that, you know, we're not doing any of this overspending or anything like this. So the research that we've done is a lot of cities that do go bankrupt there's a positive correlation with a deficit or a, you know, kind of a zero balance in their general fund. But for us here at Urbandale, we have approximately 32% of our government funds is contributed to our general funds. And that is where we have most of our important activities that are being funded. And that's about that has a balance of about $37 million. And about 10 million of that is unassigned. So we feel really comfortable in a state of emergency or something like that, that we'll be able to endure as a city.
That's really great to hear. And thank you again, everyone, for all of your questions. And then as we move into our last section here about the outlook for Urbandale. So over the past few recent years, we've experienced positive economic growth, and we here at Urbandale want to further this growth through our assistance and tax incentive programs. As our council members have already described, we are in a financially sound place to continue not only our capital projects, but also to continue to operate as a city. We have also partnered with our neighboring governments to provide assistance to those affected by COVID-19, which will hopefully restart the economy at a more rapid pace and minimize the negative effects of the lockdown. Should all go according to plan, the Greater Des Moines area intends to increase their population by 270,000 people and 115,000 housing units by 2050, which may bring greater economic growth to our area. And additionally, we will have our CCR, or our Citizen-Centric Report, available on our website at www.urbandale.org. And we also plan to have these mailed out to every resident in our city, and it will be included in our upcoming newsletter. So please look forward to that if you're interested in learning more about what we have presented here today.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate everyone's time. Thank you. So in terms of what we learned in this project, what was probably the most surprising thing for me was the sheer amount of complexities and responsibilities of the city government, especially one as small as Urbandale, relative to larger cities such as New York City or even the city and county of Honolulu in our home state. From this, I really have a greater respect for those that are in government with all of their responsibilities that range from ensuring the safety of their citizens to continuing to ensure the economic growth of their city.
What I learned from this project is how the Urbandale's government structure is super effective, how they have the mayor and the committees and who are in charge of creating the policies, and then they have a designated city manager that actually implements all of these policies. And I believe that this is something that has been, and I think the numbers show that it has been very successful. And I really was very impressed by that. And I think that there's a lot of cities and places out there that could use that model to offer better services for their citizens.
Right. Yeah. And just to piggyback off of what Chloe and Dennis were saying, it was really amazing to see, the more we were doing our research together, just seeing the strategic goals come together with the financials and how much coordination needed to happen in each department in order to successfully accomplish the goals of the town and the city. I mean, without making sure that you're constantly coordinating, constantly communicating, I don't see how any of these goals could be accomplished. So each little thing depends on one another. So from the city manager to how, all of the strategic goals through each, department of funding, I think it's really important to make sure that you're constantly coordinating with each other. And that was really impressive to me.
And with that, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And yeah, that's it from the University of Hawaii at Manoa team. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.